So what causes insomnia? So there's many things that could be linked to it. Mental health is one issue, of course. So anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, psychopathic physiological insomnia is really secondary to just worry. So there are some individuals who they have a really difficult time compartmentalizing problems, and they continue to mull things over in their head. And this inability to reach a conclusion or just comes to the realization that there's only so much you can control can obviously impact sleep, because it leads to hyperarousal, because they're constantly worrying and mulling that issue over in their head. As we talked about, certain physical issues can lead to insomnia: cardiovascular issues, congestive heart failure, GERD, if you had a prior stroke, if you have COPD, and of course, obstructive sleep apnea. And then hormonal imbalances, in particular progesterone in women, but low estrogen can cause it, and definitely low testosterone in men. And one thing to note, people have looked at how low testosterone, or a concern with testosterone replacement therapy, both in men and women, in the past was obstructive sleep apnea. There's a concern that it may worsen or be correlated with obstructive sleep apnea. That data isn't entirely true. In fact, new data suggesting low testosterone is associated with obstructive sleep apnea. That being said, I do think it's quite possible to worsen OSA if you get on TRT, if you do not, enact on a healthy diet and try to lose weight, or if you allow your hemoglobin hematocrit to rise too high. I've seen that occur. I've seen individuals where maybe their dose wasn't optimized and they didn't donate blood, even though, maybe at a lab visit, I was like, hey, we gotta donate blood. And they did notice their sleep was a little more disturbed because of it. But after they donated blood, that seemed to help. What about medications? Well, many psych medications will impact sleep. So if you've been placed on trazodone or Prozac or Celexa or SSRIs or MAO inhibitors, monoamine oxide inhibitors, as well as calcium channel blockers, corticosteroids, and beta agonists, there are many more that can contribute to insomnia, but these seem to be the biggest ones. So it's kind of interesting. One thing I didn't consider until recently is the fact that patients on amlodipine, this may be contributing to their insomnia. So maybe trying to switch out to a different blood pressure medication like telmisartan instead, if possible. And then trying to titrate off SSRIs whenever possible might be a good idea too. And then, of course, everyone recognizes stimulants can cause insomnia, so caffeine, but also nicotine. And a lot of people are kind of, the rate of smoking has decreased in the US, but one thing to recognize is people sometimes use nicotine patches. This is something that is becoming more common in the neurohacking community, because nicotine does have some nootropic effects. But one thing to realize is you may want to make sure you have it or utilize it earlier in the day versus later in the day. And then, one interesting thing is alcohol. So people are like, well, wait a minute, alcohol is a depressant, right? So because there are some people that drink alcohol to go to sleep. This is a very bad idea. Alcohol decreases stage 4 sleep. So that's the deep restorative stage of sleep. But also it seems to release dopamine in the brain. So just the fact of drinking alcohol is associated with insomnia, also alcohol withdrawal. So, not necessarily a great thing to have before bed. And then, of course, just your lifestyle. So if you're on rotating shifts, many of us are in jobs where basically we're on call or we have to switch between days and nights. And that, of course, can impact your sleep and lead to insomnia.